Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Why Nobody Plays video. And because this champion won the last poll that I actually made, we're gonna be discussing on why nobody plays them. And of course, the character that I'm talking about is Magneto, House of X, the champion that everyone sort of seems to bring for most questing content, but actually never uses for fights. But anyways, like we always do with these types of videos, before we actually discuss why nobody plays him, let's actually break down all of his abilities first. Always active, mutation. Magneto's attacks deal energy damage instead of physical, and he also gains plus 10% base special attack damage. He's also immune to bleed effects, and so he's actually pretty okay to run with the Suicide Masteries. Now, while fighting a metal champion, the opponent will suffer an indefinite magnetized passive, which is applied 1 second after the start of the fight. Now, this magnetized passive does the following. It reduces ability accuracy by 70%, it also reduces combat power rate by 15%, incoming debuffs will also gain plus 25 duration, and finally Magneto gains 750 attack rating. But anyways, moving to his persistent charges. Now each time Magneto begins a quest, he starts with 6 persistent charges, and the maximum you can have of these is 10, so yeah. After defeating an opponent, he will be granted 1 persistent charge, and if they're hashtag metal, you'll gain 2 persistent charges instead. Now landing hits as well as being struck has a 5% chance per persistent charge to gain a 10-second prowess buff, granting 10% special damage. And the max amount of these types of prowesses that you can have is 7, so yeah. Now this one is very important because it basically means the more persistent charges you have, the greater the chance of him actually gaining a prowess buff. But moving on to the pre-fight ability, Guidance Boost. Magneto can spend 2 persistent charges in the pre-fight screen to place a guidance effect on the fight, which lasts until the defender is defeated. These effects don't stack and can be used by allies in game modes like War or even Alliance Quest. Now guidance gives attackers in the fight plus 15 attack rating. Additionally, metal or hero attackers will trigger a passive stun effect with the parry mastery instead of the debuff, and this passive stun also gains 0.5 second duration. Heavy attacks. Now Magneto's heavy attacks have a 100% chance to gain a prowess buff, lasting for 30 seconds and granting plus 35% special attack damage. The max of these that you can have is 3. Now as for these special attacks, all the prowess buffs are paused during the duration of the attack, and the special attack will gain certain effects depending on how many prowess he has. Now if you have 1 prowess, you will gain plus 50% ability accuracy. If it's 3 and above, you'll gain 50% buff and debuff duration, and if it's 6 plus prowess, you gain 50% buff and debuff potency, and when it's 9 and above, the attack will grant the opponent 80% less power. Now moving on to the special attacks. Special 1. It has a 70% chance to inflict an armor break, removing 1 armor up buff and reducing armor rating by a certain amount for 14 seconds. The Special 2. It has a 70% chance to inflict a bleed debuff, causing a certain amount of direct damage over 6 seconds. And if the opponent is hashtag metal, it'll instead inflict a degeneration debuff. There's also a 70% chance to inflict an additional bleed or degen debuff if the opponent has an armor break debuff. The Special 3. There's a 70% chance to gain a cruelty buff, increasing critical damage by a certain number for 40 seconds. While this cruelty buff is active, Magneto's existing prowess buffs will remain paused. And now onto the signature ability. His bleed and armor break debuffs will gain 48.3 up to 80.81% duration based on how much bonus special damage he's gaining from the prowess effects, maxing out at a potency of 150%. And also knocking out an opponent will also grant him an additional persistent charge. And those are all of the abilities that this Magneto has. He definitely does have a lot of special attack damage going on over there, and he has some big numbers to boot too. And I can't even lie, man, you have to be an absolute beast in order to just wear full white all the time. Although his cape is kind of dirty at the back, but hey. Now onto the topic of why nobody plays him. Now he definitely is used in a lot of places, simply just for his guidance pre-fight ability, because in scenarios where the opponent is immune to debuffs, you can pretty much just bring him and pretty much just fight like you normally would. That's a really great ability. However, from what I can see of this champion, he pretty much has three issues. The first one is his normal prowess effects don't last long enough. In pretty much all of his matchups, the prowesses just fall off way too fast, and there isn't really a way to refresh them except for the special 3, and that's a special 3. I mean, you have to hit the opponent I think like 50 times in order to get 3 bars of power, but hey. The second problem that I have with him is he doesn't really have a way of gaining additional power. Because you pretty much want to always go for the special 3, it pretty much feels needed for such a character because the cruelty only lasts for 40 seconds, and after that you're pretty much gonna lose all of your prowess effects, meaning you're gonna be doing less damage overall. And as for the third issue I have with him, it's there's no way of pausing or refreshing your prowess effects except for the special 3 cruelty, which while the cruelty is active, it pretty much pauses all of the prowesses that you had before the special attack, which is really great. However, 40 seconds in some scenarios just isn't long enough. And it's pretty much all RNG based, and so you don't really have consistent damage. I don't even think he really needs a buff because he's pretty much fine the way he is. He just isn't really my type of character in my opinion. A bit too slow and a bit too stressful to play, and pretty much there's just some better characters out there if you want what he does. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments which other character I should make a video on, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!